United States Postal Service motto is, "Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds." However, the USPS might have met its match, and it's called gentrification. The rapid systemic gentrification and displacement of the Central District over the past decade claimed another longtime institution back in December of last year as the post office on 23rd and Union closed its doors. That post office and several other businesses closed 5 months ago to make way for the new Midtown Plaza apartments being developed by Lake Union Partners. The USPS was informally notified 2 years ago by Lake Union Partners and formally given notice 1 year ago, informing the post office they would have to move by December 2018 to make way for upcoming construction. Despite the advance notice, the USPS pulled out of the Central District last year with no clear plan to come back and leaving Central District residents without postal services. Seeking to use her platform to raise awareness around the issue, Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant organized a community meeting at Garfield Community Center for community members to voice their concerns and to hear directly from USPS officials as to their plan to restore postal services to the community. Sawant highlighted that it's predominantly black people and elders who are most impacted by the absence of the post office.
And as you know, we had a post office for years at 23rd and Union, but as yet another symbol of the gentrification and displacement that our community members are facing, especially our black community members are facing, we now don't have a post office all the way from Montlake to Mount Baker, east of Broadway. We're a post office desert.
USPS was represented at the meeting by Greg Shelton, who is the real estate specialist for the United States Postal Service and whose job it is to secure leases for temporary or new post offices. Shelton said that the USPS is moving at the speed of government and stated that USPS started the official process of trying to find a temporary or new location just under 1 year ago, but the process has been slow and tedious due to government bureaucracy.
Right, when we got the notification, I heard about it in May. We got the official one in June. It's a 180-day notice. From that point on, it gets sent over to our planning department, and our planning department has a procedure that they have to follow. Being that we're a government agency, we have to follow certain guidelines to move things forward. And unfortunately, it takes a while to get through that process. And unfortunately, this one took a little bit longer than we anticipated.
Longtime Central District resident Jackie DeVincent said she used the post office on 23rd and Union regularly for the 30 years that she's lived in the CD, and she's upset at the lack of planning by the USPS, especially since the Central District is one of Seattle's fastest growing neighborhoods, which means it requires more services, not less.
And it's like they knew that this was going to happen a couple of years ago, at least, and they still did nothing about it. Or if they did something, they never said anything to us. And we've all known it's going to happen, but you figured they would have had a plan in place by now. And the thing that pisses me off the most is this population in this neighborhood has probably gone up by at least 10 times since I moved in. And so we need more service than less. We need more service than less, you know, but we have nothing for months, and now they're saying a year or 2 years.
Echoing DeVincent's sentiment was Keanna Pickett, co-owner of the Postman Shipping and Small Business Services located on Martin Luther King and East Union, who said she was surprised by the lack of communication USPS had with the community prior to shutting down services.
We feel like with the post office leaving, they kind of left in an abrupt manner. We knew about it 2 years ago that they were going to be leaving, and we feel like they kind of left the community high and dry without letting them know that they were going to the postal service. They could have sent out a postcard saying where people could go, their options.
Pickett, along with her husband Devon, opened the Postman to provide full-service shipping and small business needs to the community. Devon's grandfather was actually a USPS letter carrier in the CD for nearly 30 years.
We're very helpful, so if you have questions, we like to guide people because we're from the community, 5 generations from the Central District, and Devon, my husband's grandfather, was a postal carrier and retired from the Postal Service, and so we feel like it's important to continue pushing the mail through our community, and because our motto is keeping communities connected, and that's what we're doing. When the post office left, we're here.
Although Pickett agrees that the Central District should not be deprived of a post office since it is something fundamental to the community, she's also quick to point out that in her eyes, the private sector stepped in to fill the void when the government pulled out, and that the Postman provides most of the same services that USPS offered and more, including shipping and receiving of FedEx and UPS, as well as a notary service, and that their emphasis on community means that doing business with the Postman ensures that money stays within the community.
We're African American, we're young, we're entrepreneurs. The money that we make goes right back into our community. Our kids go to school in our community. We shop at the other businesses in our community. We live in our community. We pay rent in our community. So with the post office closing, with us being there, it's really bringing the community closer together, we feel like.
Pickett said that as her and Devon continue to see the population of the Central District increase and thus the demand for shipping services increase as well, they plan to open several more of the Postman locations across the Central District to meet the growing demand.
We have expanded services, and we plan on having multiple locations right in the Central District. So 98122, you're going to find the Postman in 3 different locations within the next 5 years.
Shelton presented the community with 2 viable locations, the first one being on 23rd and Union that could be open in about 9 months and would be temporary, and the other being on 34th and Union, which could be open in perhaps 18 months.
Well, we looked at 2 primary locations that we can move quickly on, and everybody wants us to move fast instead of waiting 3 years for the post office. We looked at 23rd and Union, which is the electric bike shop, and the other one was over at 34th and Union, next to the pub. Those were the 2 primary locations that were within the community that we thought would best fit the community as far as the parking, delivery, and the operations for the postal service.
It looks as though through community and political pressure, the USPS will be returning to the Central District, possibly as soon as 9 months from now. However, one cannot help but wonder if in other neighborhoods such as Magnolia or Queen Anne, a post office would have ever closed without there already being a plan in place for a new location, be it temporary or permanent, right away. Residents of the Central District very well have fair grounds to cry foul, as when one looks back at the overall relationship between community residents and local and federal government, there has been systemic, long-term disregard on all levels of government as to the well-being of those that call the Central District home. At Garfield Community Center, I am Omari Salisbury for Africatown Media Network.